For those of us that are old enough, the anti-trans movement of today is mirroring the anti-gay movement of some 30 and 40 years ago. If you are old enough, I want you to think back to the time when the mere mention of the words gay, lesbian, or queer were commonly used as a pejorative. Now, as they did in the past, a large portion of the conservative right and religious groups are using people who are in the LGBTQ community as fodder for their agenda. Misinformation, myths, and stereotypes were created around the negative ideas of what it meant to be gay or lesbian. And although we have seen progress in recent years for the basic human rights of those who are LGBTQ, we are seeing a resurgence by many of the same conservatives and religious groups as they fight against the transgender community and their basic human rights. In this video, we're going to discuss how some of those myths, misinformation, and stereotypes were weaponized by anti-gay movements, causing many people to be harmed and too many lives lost from the LGBTQ community. We're also going to take a closer look at how those same myths and stereotypes are now targeting and being used against those in the transgender community. Please keep in mind that some may find this content to be disturbing and it may trigger some deep emotions or traumas. This video is for education purposes only and to bring awareness of how harm is done to others by spreading misinformation. Myth number 1. Homosexuality is a choice. The truth is, sexual orientation is caused by factors such as genetics and the biology of brain development. Transgender and homosexuality are no more a choice or decision than being straight or cisgender. Asking a gay person, when did you decide to be gay, is similar to asking a heterosexual person, when did you decide to be attracted to people of the opposite sex? Scientific data indicate that sexual orientation, homosexuality or heterosexuality, is biologically based, and this lies within our genetics or our DNA and epigenetics. These are factors that affect our genes and what occurs in the developing brain before birth. Myth number 2. Homosexuality can be cured. The truth is, therapy cannot change sexual orientation, and reparative therapy can be very harmful. Exodus International, the largest North American reparative therapy organization, was open for 37 years and only shut down in 2013. The president, Alan Chambers, gave an apology to those affected for the, quote, years and undue judgment by the organization and the Christian church as a whole. Although conversion therapy has been found to be detrimental to people's mental and physical health, there are still many organizations and churches around the United States that believe that they can change people from being gay or wanting gender-affirming surgery. We're going to take a little time to go over some of the so-called therapies involved in conversion therapy so that you might understand the violent, appalling process that so many have had to endure through conversion therapy. Now, some of what we're going to discuss next may be triggering, so please skip forward to the time at the bottom of the screen. Some of the more common methods used in conversion therapy, most often by force, include spoken therapy or prayer, medication including antipsychotics, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, psychoactive drugs, and hormone injections, EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. This type of therapy is typically used to help one learn to live and deal with trauma. A more extreme tactic would be exorcism, to expel the demons that cause people to be gay or trans. Food deprivation, electroshock or electroconvulsive therapy, where electrodes are attached to either side of the head and an electric current is then passed between them to induce seizure. And some of the most severe methods are considered corrective measures, such as beatings and corrective. For more information on conversion therapy and the effects on those who undergo and/or are forced to endure it, here are a couple videos I recommend. Pray Away and Boy Erased. Myth number 3. The parents did something wrong. The truth is, nothing you did as a parent caused your child to be gay. However, the way you respond to your child when they come out will have a huge impact on your child's well-being. I first want to point you back to myth number 1. how scientific data indicates sexual orientation as biologically based and occurring in the developing brain before birth. And second, while a child's parents obviously play a substantial role in the kind of person they grow to be, it's inconceivable that those who are LGBTQ were created by either a domineering, overprotective, feminizing mother or the weak and absent father. The kind of parent one has plays no actual role in who is LGBTQ, but it will play a definite role in the outcome of one's personality and emotional self. Myth number 4. A gay child will turn others gay around them too. The truth is, sexual orientation is not learned from peers. Although children and adolescents may imitate or influence each other, sexual orientation is not something that is learned from your peers. Others might come out to your child, not because they were recruited, but because they recognize a common bond and they no longer feel alone. Myth number 5. An LGBTQ person is a danger to children. The truth is, LGBTQ people are no more likely to children than anyone else. First and foremost, I would like to stress that sexual attraction to children is not homosexuality but pedophilia, and that is a psychiatric disorder. This degrading slur that an LGBTQ person is a danger to children is untrue. LGBTQ people have the same protective instincts for children as heterosexuals, and so I repeat, sexual attraction to children is not homosexuality but pedophilia. This claim is commonly targeted at gay men in particular, but research shows that gay men are less likely than straight men to children. In fact, the Child Molestation Research and Prevention Institute notes that 90% of child molesters target children that are in their own network of family and friends. The majority are men who identify as straight and are often married to women. In an interview in 2014, a Des Moines Police Department spokesperson said, "If the behavior is there, sexual predators will behave as they're going to behave." An example of this would be the bathroom predator argument, which is based on the assumption that men who prey on women and children will be inspired to dress as women and enter women's spaces. Statistics show us differently, that no matter the location, if someone is reporting, the gender identity of the perpetrator has no bearing on the criminality of the act. The act of violating another person is a crime, and the reported incidences should be investigated as such. A crime irrespective of the attacker's gender. A major promoter of this particular myth, discredited psychologist Paul Cameron, is the most ubiquitous purveyor of anti-gay junk science. Though his claims have been debunked repeatedly and very publicly, Cameron's work is still widely relied upon by anti-gay organizations today. Myth number 6. The Bible condemns homosexuality. Homosexual practice is a sin, and opposing homosexuality is Christian. The truth is, Jesus was silent on the subject of homosexuality. His ministry was one of welcome and acceptance, not condemnation. For those that follow the teachings of Jesus, whether they accept the LGBTQ community or not depends wholly on the way that they and their church interpret the Bible. However, many Christians hold the Great Commandment in Matthew 22:36-40 as their overarching guide. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. There are 7 references in the Bible that many Christians use to support their assertion that the Bible and Jesus condemns homosexuality. When taken in their historical context and in tracing translations to the original text, the modern interpretation of anti-homosexuality content is not supported. The word homosexual does not occur in the Bible. There is no text or manuscript, be it Hebrew, Greek, Syriac, or Aramaic, that contains such a word. For a detailed discussion of the 7 passages that are commonly used as proof, please see Unclobber by Colby Martin. And for a more positive biblical view, see LGBTQ Affirming Scripture. These Bible references were gathered by members of St. Hugh of Lincoln Episcopal Church in Elgin, Illinois. And they did this to highlight the many messages of love and inclusion that are in the Bible. To close out this section, I want to leave this question for those who believe that the Bible condemns all LGBTQ people. Is there one true or correct way to interpret the Bible? And if so, who is it that determines that? Myth number 7. Homosexuality is abnormal. The truth is, LGBTQ individuals are as mentally healthy as anyone else. In 1973, homosexuality was removed from the DSM, which is the official list of mental disorders in the US, and is no longer considered a mental illness. LGBTQ individuals are as mentally healthy as anyone else. However, it is true that stigma, prejudice, and discrimination against LGBTQ individuals creates a hostile and stressful social environment, and this can cause mental health problems as well as raise the likelihood of attempts and other self-harming behaviors. There is so much that we can do as a society to show others that they matter and that they are worthy. I challenge each of you to smile at a stranger because we don't know what their life is, but a simple smile can change the path of someone else's life entirely. Myth number 8. Marriage is between a man and a woman. The truth is, LGBTQ relationships can be just as monogamous, strong, and valid as heterosexual relationships. Same-sex couples and marriages can also do just as well at raising children as heterosexual couples. Marriage between same-sex partners is legal in the United States and in an increasing number of countries worldwide. Mutual love and respect, not the gender of the marriage partners, are what make unions strong and valid. Fidelity in committed same-sex relationships can be just as welcomed and blessed by families, communities, and the church as heterosexual marriages. Obergefell v. Hodges is a landmark case for same-sex marriage. On June 26, 2015, the Supreme Court of the United States held in a 5-4 decision that state bans on same-sex marriage and on recognizing same-sex marriages duly performed in other jurisdictions are unconstitutional under the Due Process and Equal Protection Clauses of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. Myth number 9. The slippery slope argument. If we allow LGBTQ marriage, anyone wanting to be married can have a meaningful relationship defined as marriage. The truth is, marriage in the United States will always be between two consenting adults. This, of course, does not count for child marriages, where a judge's order, parental permission, premarital counseling, or proof of pregnancy are all that is needed for 18 and under to be married. Child marriages happen in all but these 7 states. Delaware and New Jersey passed the ban in 2018, Pennsylvania and Minnesota 2020, Rhode Island and New York in 2021, and then just this year, Massachusetts passed its own ban on child marriage. The argument of a slippery slope is a logical fallacy in that it is usually made with little to no evidence. But I've brought plenty of evidence today to show you how child marriage is a scourge to the US and the rest of the world. Sadly, in the United States and around the world, approximately 12 million girls are married before the age of 18 every year. There is no federal law protecting our children here in the United States, and while children of any gender can be married off, let's face it, this disproportionately affects young girls. According to data collected from Unchained at Last, nearly 300,000 children under the age of 18 were legally married in the United States alone between the years 2000 and 2018. Thank you for taking the time to watch. If you'd like to learn more about any of the topics discussed in this video, please see the links provided below in the description. If you or someone you know is in crisis, these hotlines and organizations are free and available to anyone who is struggling.